What I've got for you today is one of the semi-finals of the GSL Code S, one of the most prestigious StarCraft 2 tournaments in the world. This particular series was played last week, and if the round of 8 of the GSL was anything to go off of, we should see some crazy build orders. I haven't seen this series yet, but I've heard about it, and apparently it's a lot of fun. So spotting right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have none other than GuMiho, the most creative Terran player at this level of StarCraft. And his opponent, I mean, he generally speaking doesn't play too flashy, but I've noticed over the last couple of months, he's been mixing in some cheeses and some weird 2-base shenanigans. We're looking at none other than Classic's main Nexus. So I casted most of the series. Those were all best of 3s. This is a best of 5. From the round of 8, and let's just say in the round of 8, everybody prepared some really funky builds, and we certainly saw some spicy strategies that we ordinarily would not see. Alrighty, so it's gonna be a Reaper first right here, straight into a Reactor, so skipping the Marine. Looks like Classic, though, has not produced a Zealot here, so I think GuMiho is gonna be able to get away with it. It's one of those scenarios where sometimes this can be a little bit annoying, right? So if you have a Zealot going across the map, you have that command center building on the low ground, and you do not actually have a Marine protecting it, even though it's one Marine only, it's gonna still help out tremendously when it comes to defending that command center on the low ground, so at least for now, Classic is not going to be able to punish his opponent, but small little corner has been cut right there by Gumi. It's a sentry right now on the back of this as well right here for Classic, which is a bit interesting. It does mean that any sort of tech that he wants to go for on the back of this is going to be delayed, right? So this is 100 gas right over here. It's the same amount of gas as like a Twilight Council or a Robo facility. So this bad boy over here better hallucinate one hell of a Phoenix to be able to figure out exactly what's going on in order to justify it. Okay, so we do have a Robo facility on the back of this. Going into a Stargate right now would indeed be kind of tricky. Turns out we're gonna double down on the Reaper aggression. So it's gonna be 3 Reapers for now, and I would imagine that's where we end it. Yeah, we're gonna switch over with the factory, and in the meantime there's a starport producing as well right next to it. Alrighty, so GuMiho is going to be able to start some harassment here on the opponent's side of the map. There's that hallucinated Phoenix I was talking about, so this is something we see every once in a while. The problem is the sentry. It's kind of like... Ooh, maybe hold that thought? No, I think we're okay. It's kind of like the High Templar auto attack, you know what I mean? Like, technically speaking, it attacks, but it more or less just tickles. It's like... Bzz, 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 bzz. I mean, it will tickle you to death eventually. And it is obviously capable of hallucinating, and therefore, you know, getting a Phoenix across the map. Alright, you're gonna get a little bit of vision here inside of the main base of the Terran, and he does see 2 cheeky little Cyclones following this up as well. This is what I was talking about, though, yeah. So, ultimately, that sentry, should I back up? There you go, this is what happened. The sentry, it ended up dying in exchange for 1 Reaper, which is an amazing beginning right here for GuMiho. GuMiho is gonna just follow this up with even more Cyclones right now. He's gonna go into the Raven. He's researching that new ability. That's an old ability that was always on the Raven, but now it suddenly needs to be researched. I can imagine that there's many a Raven pilot out there very upset about the situation, but Interference Matrix will be available as well, and obviously, we see this primarily being used on, for example, Colossi, but you can use it on, well, other Protoss units as well, right? So if he decided to move across the map right now, maybe he could put some work in by, for example, taking out that Immortal temporarily. Are we not gonna do that? We just did a little bit of dancing. We sniped a sentry, and we're not... Okay. I guess Classic has already doubled up right here on his shield batteries. And I'm assuming... Is this something that Gumi saw? Well, he saw one of them. Okay, he did not see the second one going down. I was gonna say, maybe that's the reason why I decided to back up here. That Immortal is scary, but as long as you have energy on the Interference Matrix, I mean... Yeah. It takes a while to research. I guess that's the main downside. We decided to double up on the Ravens as well, by the way. And now straight into Terran Mech. Whoa! Okay. It's interesting to me how when players at this level, so the absolute highest level, when they have a little bit of time to prepare for their opponent, they come up with build orders that are out of the ordinary, but still very clever. Like Classic clearly was not prepared right there for those Cyclones and those Ravens to chill, and he ends up, well, losing that first observer of his. That's super annoying. All of this is going... I mean, it's not horrible here for Classic, but it's not looking all too great. One problem here for him as well is that he now lost, of course, that sentry. He cannot get a follow-up hallucination scout, and he's blindly going into a Colossus. Now, Colossi, they deal bonus damage against light units. They're very good when it comes to roasting Marines, but last time I checked, they're not going to be that great against Terran Mech. There's the Hurricane Thrusters upgrade coming up as well. That's going to give these Cyclones their movement speed buff, and I've got a feeling we're gonna see GuMiho march across the map and absolutely destroy a Protoss army. If we just wait another minute or two. Yeah, we wait until these upgrades are done. We march across the map. We disable the Colossus, maybe hit one of the Immortals with an Interference Matrix 2. At that point, we just have like 5 Stalkers left over. I mean, unsieged tanks alone are gonna be able to make short work of those. Alright, well at this point, Classic does finally get the follow-up. What exactly do we do? He immediately fires up the charge upgrade, it seems, although he may have already started that one earlier. It's one of those upgrades you kind of want to have regardless of whether or not you're playing against Bio or you're playing against Mech. We've seen a couple different approaches when it comes to beating Terran Mech, so this is a relatively new unit composition, at least with the Cyclone. A lot of Protoss players seem to be very fond of just going like Blink Stalkers, right? So say you open up with Blink, it turns out 3-gate Blink or 4-gate Blink is pretty darn good against those Cyclone builds. You can just, well, kill them before they really get upgraded. Obviously, it's already a little bit too late for that. After that, there seem to be another few options as well that Protoss players like to make use of. So first off, we have mass robo play, where we see a ton of robotics facilities and a lot of Immortals. And I guess the other option at this point in the game would be to go for a ton of gateway units instead. If you can get a charge down on all of those siege tanks, life gets a whole lot better. But this is... yeah, this is honestly, this looks like a killer push to me, man. The sentry is gonna have to, there's 2 sentries over here, they're gonna have to hit really good force fields if they want to delay this. Okay, if you can kill one of those, nope, he will not be able to kill those ravens. I mean, maybe he's gonna be able to shut them down eventually, but here comes GuMiho with an attack that was scouted, but I feel like it was a little too late. Look at half the siege tanks not even joining in yet. Interference Matrix is already wearing out. I don't think that was the most optimal engagement right there for GuMiho at all, but he saw an opportunity and he just dived on top of it. Now suddenly we can split off those blue flame Hellions from the rest of the army. I mean, this is a landslide victory right here for GuMiho. There's, I mean, maybe even if we do break out of this eventually, maybe there's a chance that Classic can stabilize, but that is so much damage already done. I mean, he is slowly moving forward, right? And maybe if he waits one more warp in. Nah, I'm not even gonna do the caster thing. This is, I mean, sometimes I do the caster thing where a game that's over, I try to cast it like it's not. This game is super over, guys. Unless we hit the purification. No, we did not. Unless we get Zealot warp in and we did not. Unless the Stalker suddenly managed to blade. They did not. Unless the laser boy over here just, he does not. Nah, this is rough. So I think what you can do right now as Terran is just make more stuff at home. If you really want to play it safe, you could go for a 3rd command center as well, I suppose, and start up some more upgrades. Classic is going to try his best over here to stabilize, but the problem is he doesn't have an answer against neither the siege tanks or the Liberators, and the combination of the two is pretty nuts. The only downside, I guess, right here for Gumi is that he almost has to, like, he's just fighting under the battery overcharge. He has to split up his units. So, okay, yeah, the small clump of army here is gonna recall towards the 3rd. So the siege tanks right now can indeed spend a little bit of time rolling on over here. Liberators can siege up. I mean, Classic is not gonna go down without a fight. This is a very important match. Obviously, winning a GSL Code S is basically the main goal of every Korean StarCraft pro. So he's not gonna go down without a fight, but I've got a feeling if this was a ladder game, he would have tapped out a little bit ago already, because this is just, yeah, this stinks, man. Really nice build, though, by GuMiho. So there really were 2 moments there that were absolutely critical, that are easily forgotten. So first off, that Reaper that sacrificed himself to kill that 1 sentry, it effectively denied any follow-up scouts. So Classic didn't see that he was going up against Terran Mech until the 2nd observer went around, because the 2nd moment I want to highlight is that 1st observer that went straight through the middle of the map. GuMiho was sitting there with his Ravens and with his Cyclones, and he managed to snipe it. So Classic was just in the dark for such a long time. Yeah, 2 different scouting tools right there ended up getting sniped, and that is not the start you want to have. At that point, you basically are flipping a coin, and you're crossing your fingers, and you're hoping that Terran's just gonna do a good old Marine-based attack. And that is something that GuMiho does very frequently. I would say that's his go-to build order, right? Especially, like, a couple months ago, I was criticizing maybe GuMiho just a tad for the fact that he was just playing very normal StarCraft, so quote-unquote normal StarCraft, just that good old bio army into Marine Marauder, and then more upgrades, and we see maybe some Widow Mine drops, but he wasn't really... He kind of lost a little bit of that flavor, you know? A little bit of that spice that GuMiho always brought to the games. But it seems like ever since the new multiplayer balance patch went live, yeah, we have seen some of that come back once again, and I think that previous game is a perfect example. He must have analyzed replays of Classic on that particular map. He must have, well, recognized the position that Classic usually likes to take up. He must have scouted the way that his opponent likes to send those observers across, and... Ooh. Everything combined resulted in what was pretty much a perfect game right there for Gumi, other than maybe that really aggressive dive. I feel like that dive straight on top of the, well, the entire Protoss army there was maybe a bit too aggressive, but... Alright, so what are we gonna do in game number 2? It's gonna be a, really, a recall right there on that probe. So the probe at the very least will stay alive. We're gonna go for a single adept here for now, and we'll have to see if there's once more gonna be a sentry. I don't think Classic is gonna bring that build out once again. The idea behind that build, by the way, from Classic is to make sure you don't die to anything dumb. Like, that's the... Okay, yeah, we're gonna do the exact same thing again. That's like the main goal of this type of opener, so you get really good vision of your opponent, and therefore, well, you can deal damage to them based off of what you've scouted, right? So you can pivot into what you've seen. Obviously, in the early game, Protoss has like 6 units available in total until like minute 9. At least that's what it sort of feels like. So you may as well make the 9 correct units. All right, so this time around, it's not going to be a Robo facility follow-up here. It's instead going to be a Twilight Council that's going up inside of the main base of the Protoss right now. Also, a little bit of a deviation here for at least a moment for GuMiho. Well, I say that, you know what? I think the timing here may have been ever so slightly different, but it is going to be triple Reaper once again with a couple Hellions. Alrighty, so don't lose the sentry, Classic. It's not good. I can see that the sentry's nervous. This sentry has clearly heard of the story of the sentry of the previous game. Alright, there we go. Hallucinated Phoenix going across the map. Can we just like... I don't know if you want to position it over there. I think it's fine to position it over there, but you do have to be able to, like, rescue it if it needs it, you know? I mean, this is giving me some deja vu right now. So we have a scout on the other side of the map. He sees that it's maybe gonna be Ravens or Cloaked Banshees or something like that. Little sentry, don't do it. Alright, it is indeed gonna be Ravens. And we do have the interference matrix once again researching. Curious to see if GuMiho is gonna follow this up just with the exact same build order as well. I don't think it's gonna work out as easily this time around. I mean, first off, he would have to kill the sentry, and then he would have to also snipe the observer. Plus, he's going up against Blink Stalker right now, which I do think is a bit easier overall for Protoss, although, the jury is not entirely out on that one yet. I mean, the patch has been around for a bit now, but we still see a lot of variety as far as the responses go. Yeah, we're just doing basically the same thing. So he added on a couple more factories right around... I think it must have been like... between right now and like half a minute from here. Yeah, something like that. Alright, Robo Facility, Forge, Third Nexus. So this is not an aggressive version of a Blink Stalker. Instead, this is going to be 3 gateways used defensively, which is very interesting to me. I mean, it's something we obviously see frequently, but it does seem like a... yeah, we're just doing the same thing. It does seem like a relatively flimsy unit composition against what Gumi is doing, but I think this will probably work out a little bit better here overall. Alright, this time around, one of the Ravens. That was pretty slow reaction time right there by Classic. Anyways, 2 probes end up going down, nothing all too crazy. Stalker right there just to take a bit of that damage, but... anyhow, 2 workers end up going down. We once again have that mech transition. There's the second hallucinated Phoenix. No. Hello. Alright, yeah. No, it's here as well to blink into the main base. It's gonna find out that there are indeed additional factories. And how in the world does this now play out? Okay, he manages to shut down that factory, like, right before the scaffolding on that structure got removed. Blink down to the low ground once again. Yeah, this is an interesting start. So, historically, we've never really seen Terran Mech against Protoss, because it's pretty awful, okay? It's pretty immobile. You can't really expand very easily. But keep in mind, in the previous game, we effectively had like a 2-base all-in. This is once again double Raven. These are absolutely critical. But it's a different approach here from Classic altogether. So he's decided to now go into 8 gateways. Charge is coming up. He's researching the armor upgrade as well, just to mitigate as much of that damage from the other player as possible. He is gonna mix in Immortals, but the majority of the army is just gonna be Stalkers and Zealots. Maybe an Archon or 2 as well once the Templar Archives finishes up, but there should be more meat, you know? There should be a stockier army right now that's coming up here for the Protoss, but I mean, Terran's already moving. Classic. Oh god, he may have caught the tail end of some of that. He's hoping that there's a 3rd command center, but there's no 3rd CC anywhere to be seen. I mean, he can go into the main base if he wants to, but look at this Terran army once again. This looks like one hell of a timing attack for Terran against Protoss. Okay, we're gonna recall the Stalkers right now because he realizes he needs them at home. Is there enough? Conservative siege up right there by GuMiho. So last game he just jumped the army at the first possible moment. Yeah, he's warped in a couple High Templar here as well to try and get feedbacks down on those Ravens. One of the Ravens is still in the back of the main. But slowing down the Terran mech army here is huge. As long as he can keep slowing down this mech army and he can get more and more warp-ins in, maybe lean a bit onto that 3-base economy, it should work out. Keep in mind that Terran does have a lot of SCVs, but a lot of them are also on the other side of the map. There's a Guardian Shield being activated. We do have a Interference Matrix right there on one of the Immortals. Okay, second Immortal also ends up getting shut down. Siege tanks are being targeted. This is looking a lot more stable than the previous game, right? And this is maybe a good example as to why we don't regularly see the same build executed twice in a row, especially timing attacks like this one at the pro level. Oh god, saving that Immortal would be huge. Yeah, beautiful adjustment right here from Classic. So this is tons of SCVs going down. GG is cold. That was brilliant. Well done by Classic. Now, if you're a Terran player, right, and maybe you're struggling a little bit against Protoss on the ladder, or maybe you're just looking to mix it up a bit, I don't think we're gonna see that build another time, because, yeah, GuMiho is not gonna be able to execute it 3 times in a row, I don't think. Like Classic, I mean, that was probably the first time he played against it, and he adjusted brilliantly, but if you're a Terran player out there and you're maybe struggling against Protoss a bit, or you just want to mix up your playstyle, I feel like that previous game, or these previous 2 games, were an excellent example of a build order that you can practice against a very easy AI repeatedly, over and over and over again, until you can hit it perfectly, right? So if you study the replays, maybe you study this VOD, you write down the exact order in which GuMiho took all of his structures and the way he made all of his units, and maybe the way he microed his units too, but overall, 98% of that build was just him building a bunch of stuff at home, right? Now, obviously in a real game, maybe your opponent is gonna mess with you with like a, I don't know, an Oracle harassing your mineral line or some Blink Stalkers coming in. You're gonna have to adjust a bit, but that definitely is one of those builds that you can just practice over and over and over again and add to your arsenal of builds. And I can imagine that basically any Terran player up to like Grandmaster League is not gonna be able to stop it, right? And like the vast majority of the execution of that does not rely on you getting lucky with like a Widow Mine hit, or I don't know, hoping your opponent is not gonna be prepared for like your Hellion drop, or crossing your fingers and hoping that your Banshees can get a bunch of probe kills or something like that, you know? Like it's something that you can just sort of practice in a custom game against a very easy AI and just get it done. Anyway, just my 2 cents. I know there's a lot of Protoss players that are like, Lowko, no! Don't give the Terran more build orders I have to counter. Sorry, Protoss players. I know, it's frustrating sometimes. Now you have another build to worry about, apparently. Anyways, we do see the expansion here going down eventually for Classic after there was an engineering bay blocking it for quite some time. A little bit annoying, but obviously that's not a free move for Terran either, so even though this SCV has got a massive smile on his face, like this guy basically turned into an emoji, it, yeah, delays the Terran player a bunch too. So there is a command center going down, and we do have a bunker, and indeed, it is going to be a completely different strategy here this time around for our Terran, as he decides to go triple Rex. Okay. Zealot first as well this time around for Classic. I guess that's the main vulnerability. Yeah, you could maybe... if you want to be like very safe about it, you could go Reaper into Marine, and then eventually a Reactor to pump out 2 additional Reapers. Your mileage may vary. Ooh, that was cute. Lovely grenade right there by Gumi. Yeah, the problem is that if you do skip that Marine, the first Zealot that goes across can be kind of annoying. But anyways, Stargate opener here for Classic. Interesting position on that one. Usually it goes into the main base. But I guess the second pylon was positioned right here on the low ground. Fair enough. I guess that was because of the engineering bay block. Okay, so ultimately, we have one Zealot who died. We have one Council on an engineering bay, so not a bad start right here for Mr. GuMiho. Oracle is going to come across the map, and with a triple Rex opener, there should be enough Marines to defend against everything. The main key, of course, is that you do have the Marines, well, in the right position. You do have to have them in the right place at the right time, because Stimpack and Combat Shields are still going to be a while away, but this is one of the easy build orders, right? The Terrans have been practicing for years and years and years. This is like the comfort zone. Triple Rex. These upgrades will finish up right around the same moment. We're going to go into the +1 infantry weapons as well momentarily, and you can sort of just defend against whatever it is that the Protoss player has got prepared for you. Assuming you're in the right position. Again, those Marines currently not in the right position. The thing is, Classic is a little concerned that there's like a Widow Mine hiding out of line of sight. This is what a hurt Protoss player looks like, man. He was so cautious right there with the way that he was maneuvering that around. This is a man who's lost one too many oracles to a Widow Mine. He was on his tippy toes getting into that Terran base. I almost feel bad for Classic. Anyways, we've got ourselves a fleet beacon here on the left side of the natural expansion, together with a second Stargate. Let's see. So, I did see Classic execute a build similar to this with, I think, Tempest play? Yeah. So that's what it's going to be. We're going to be going straight into the Tempest, one of the big boy units. The problem here, though, is that he is going to go up against a ton of Marines, right? And they're going to be properly upgraded. They're going to be coming out in very large numbers. Obviously, the Tempest can run away from them for quite a while, but I've seen these builds happen where suddenly, yeah, there's a bunch of Marines underneath the Tempest and they just get popped. And if you end up losing any of the Tempest, you're basically dead. The third Nexus also gets delayed for a little while in order to open up like this. So, Classic really needs to justify this particular opener. Now, that being said, of course, the Tempests have a ton of range. Starport here is very late, so it's not like we do have any sort of, like, I don't know, Viking play just yet. It's just gonna be Medivacs here for the time being as well, or at the very least, that's what I'm assuming it will be. There we go. So, Classic should be able to get some damage done. The question is, how many Tempests do you save up before you commit? Yeah, so there's 2 available right now. Like, you want to spoil the surprise here eventually. But there's definitely something to be said for delaying it for a bit, right? Because the more you can get out, the more damage you can get done as well. Okay, we're going to just commit to it straight up. First shot right there on an SCV that was going into the gas geyser. He's going to have to kill a lot of workers in order to justify this. Yeah, immediately GuMiho is like, okay, great. Let me go across the map here instead. Okay, Mew ends up getting sniped. Classic is pulling ahead when it comes to the work count. But this army needs to be addressed here before too long. And I wonder what the plan is. Because it's not like we have charge or blink or anything like that. The plan, I guess, is a stasis ward. Classic does grab at least a bunch of those Marines. And we're going to use defensive... Ooh, that's risky. We're going to use defensive Tempest here to try and get rid of this. So only 2 of the Tempests have been used for the offensive. And yeah, now we're going to try and just get rid of whatever we can. Supply block right now for Gumi. Medivacs are thinking about going into the main base. These pilots are insane. 13 workers have already gone down. But again, there's no splash damage here in any way. My god, this missile turret, man. Absolute legend. Putting in so much work. Now the drop has arrived in the main base. Split attack right here from GuMiho, as he knows that these Tempests are rather slow for being capital ships. Apparently the little Terran planes can indeed outpace them. Third Nexus is in a world of trouble. Probes are falling in the natural expansion too. And GuMiho is running circles around this Protoss army. Still, he can't really fight it head on. Looks like one of the Tempests, though, did go down on the other side of the map. Second Tempest fell too. This missile turret and this group of SCVs have bought so much time. I can't believe that GuMiho didn't make a backup missile turret when he saw how that fight was going. He's like, no. The one missile turret guy, he's got it. Don't worry about him. I know him personally. I assigned him to the job myself. I feel like a second missile turret maybe in, I don't know, a backup location would not be a bad spot. Anyways, Classic is now at 47 workers. He did kill quite a few SCVs as well. 22 in total, actually. Okay. Second starport coming up. So the plan, I guess, is to just pump out as many Vikings here as possible. Is that a Mama ship? Ooh, Mama ship is coming up as well. Ooh, apparently I turn it to Goofy when there's a Mama ship coming up. Ooh. We don't really need this many Tempests for base harassment, though. I mean, maybe he's looking to take out his vengeance right there on that missile turret guy, but I was gonna say, that Terran army is marching across. Classic is gonna see this right now. Mama ship is gonna be available very soon, and that's actually gonna, well, I say very soon, it's still gonna take about a year to produce. Never mind. Oh god. Are we just gonna jump this? Will men with gun be able to take out big science fiction capital ship? Looks like the answer is yes. Yeah, men with gun, pretty good. I think as far as the StarCraft lore goes, Tempests are supposed to be the size of, I don't know, about half of this map. Here you have like 8 men with guns, just firing away, dealing damage to them. Marauders in the main base, putting in a ton of work as well. And ultimately, I love what GuMiho is doing here though, pulling his opponent in loads of different locations and directions, making it really difficult to chase down all of these medevac drops. Oh no, the Marauders are gonna be able to get the Nexus 2 right before the Mama ship gets out. Oh, that's a painful one. I really like what Classic did here, but GuMiho's response has been excellent. I mean, I want to once again highlight the fact that he was harassing on the other side of the map while microing his mineral line over here as well and keeping the missile turret guy sitting inside of the missile turret. So, by the way, in case you're unfamiliar, this blows people's mind every time. When he comes facing us, there's a little guy. You see him? He's got a helmet on. There's a little guy inside of the missile turret. Anyhow, Classic supply has dwindled. Looks like there was a fight happening as well on the minimap. I mean, this game was over. The missile turret guy needed his moment to shine once again, because in my mind, he was the MVP. You know what? For the GSL Code S, they do have a dedicated observer. And in these replays, I can follow along with what the observer was looking at. I don't know if this is going to be a lot more annoying than my own observing. Because normally I'm obviously... basically what I'm trying to say is I can get even lazier. Right? Rather than casting and observing at the same time, I can just cast and follow along with the observer. Like, this is somebody getting paid just to control the camera. They probably do a better job than me. It's just that it's not a... Yeah, it's one of those things where in the replay files, it sometimes gets a little bit jittery and it doesn't work quite as smooth as you would like it to. But let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm on the observer's camera view here the entire time so far. Huh, excellent. I can just sit back. Hands off the mouse, baby. Fantastic. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Second gas coming up. We do have a command center in the main base. You know what? Rather than I'm still on that build from the first 2 games that we saw today. Rather than going for a Reaper into a Marine and then into a Reactor, if you want to execute that build and you want to be safe, just go for the command center in the main base. Much easier. Toilet Council here for Mr. Classic. And he does decide to go, of course, for that Nexus on the low ground here as well. So GuMiho is going to start looking around. He's trying to figure out what's happening inside of the main base here of our Protoss. Man, the camera guy's going kind of hard, isn't he? Look at him clicking around and like selecting stuff, making sure you can see everything that's happening. I feel like it's a lot more than me. There's a lot of different observing styles in StarCraft, okay? I like my own observing quite a bit, but I do miss important stuff every once in a while because I'm busy giving the missile turret guy a name. I wanted to show you guys the face of the missile turret guy, alright? Not a lot of people know. And you know what? The missile turret guy doesn't even cost any supply. How does that work? Is he completely self-sufficient? My theory is that he's growing his own crops in the bottom of the missile turret, and maybe he's got like some little solar panels on top of it too, so he's not, like, he's kind of off the grid, you know? He's like on his own in the Terran army, in the base, and therefore he doesn't cost any supply because, you know, he does his own thing. Anyways, Cloak Benchy opener here for Mr. Gumi. Blink Stalker start here for Classic. Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, I took control of the camera on accident. Okay, I'm back on the camera, guys. Lovely body block over there for at least a moment. So far, yeah, 3 workers is not quite enough for the amount of units here that Gumi has lost. It's not the end, but it's certainly not the start that you're hoping for, because in a way, when you first lose your first 2 Hellions, the rest of your Hellions are also a lot less useful. These guys are only really useful in a group. Cyclones once again on the back of this. I can't imagine that we're gonna see Mech again. I mean, I would love it, don't get me wrong. But I have a hard time imagining that this is gonna be Terran Mech once more here from Gumi. Maybe he's got a different way to pivot into it, but I think it's just gonna be Stimpak here. Unless... Nah. We're gonna go into some marine production here, and then eventually we'll get Stimpak going. I think that's the plan. Unless... Nah. Okay, Blink is finishing up. Third Nexus is, well, coming, and we have ourselves 3 gateways at this point. There's no way of easily getting that high ground vision here, so if Classic wants to blink into his opponent's main base, he's gonna need, for example, an observer, and it's gonna have to travel all the way across the map. It's interesting to me how when you have guys like, for example, MaxPax, play that 4-gate opener repeatedly over and over and over again, and he seems to win half the games at least, right, just from the very start with the Blink Stalker opener. It's interesting to me how nobody else really plays that build that often anymore at this level. Guys like, for example, MaxPax, I mean, they're micro. Well, I say, for example, MaxPax, really only Hero is close. I honestly think that MaxPax's micro is even better, but anyhow, long story short, nobody else seemed to get a lot of success with the 4-gate Blink opener anymore these days, and yet MaxPax does it consistently in most of his games. It's also an interesting dynamic because MaxPax does it so frequently, a lot of people have gotten a lot better at defending against it, making it harder for the other Protoss players to do what seems to be one of the best builds for them to play. If that makes any sense? Anyways, so Classic is opening up with a much more defensive version right here of the Blink Stalker. More gateways are gonna finish up. We do have a Templar Archives. Eventually on the other side of the map, would you look at that, Stimpak indeed has been started. Additional barracks are finishing. Ooh, okay. Third Command Center is building here as well, but we're really ramping up the production here on the side of the Terran. Combat shields would not be misplaced. Small little supply block there for just a few seconds, but GuMiho is, there you go, gonna be able to fire up all of the important stuff here and continue producing for as long as possible. Storm, in the meantime, coming in here as well for Classic. We have the Banshees coming back in for more. Yeah, Observer is critical here, right? Because these are cloaked Banshees. They've actually killed quite a few workers now. Yeah, everything combined, it is starting to hurt. Okay, one of the Banshees here falls. Ultimately, not the end of the world for Protoss, but not quite the start you're really hoping for. Because you technically have all of the tools to shut down that sort of Banshee aggression a bit earlier, but the Observer does need to be in the right place at the right time, and obviously it can only be in one spot at once. We do have 3 of them available, yet we didn't see it in time, which is a bit, yeah, a bit frustrating, I guess. No offensively positioned one, though. I was gonna say, yeah, we're gonna be sending that one across the map right now. Having more vision on the other side of the map would be really nice. There's the armory starting up, so we can go into the +2 upgrade here momentarily as well. And I gotta say, I'm actually very impressed with the way that Mr. GuMiho has been improving over the last year. Like, for the longest time, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, but for the longest time, in my mind, the best Terran player from South Korea is Maru, right? And I still think that is the case. Everybody else was significantly below that. So in my mind, below that, we had guys like, for example, Cure, like Bjorn, probably forgetting some names here because there's a lot of StarCraft players out there. And then GuMiho was, at least in my mind, slightly below them, right? So he was very good. He came up with very good strategies and he almost invented the StarCraft 2 meta, but he wasn't quite as crisp as some of those other top tier Terrans that I just mentioned. But I feel like he really stepped it up. I don't know if I would be putting him at Maru's level, because that goes a little far. But I definitely put him up there with now Cure and, for example, Björn. The guy really is looking strong. Anyways, is he going to be able to stop this aggression right here from the Protoss? Charge is done. I mean, Storm is also done, of course, and Storm is going to be a necessity. Those High Templar are trailing behind. There's no Ghost or anything available just yet. Good splits right here by GuMiho. Yeah, I feel like he tidied up his game a lot. Like, these are the type of attacks that I feel like GuMiho a year ago would be losing to. And instead, right now, he's harassing a little bit. He's gonna force a recall on some of these units, and he just shuts this down with ease. And this actually puts him in a really, really good position. Because ultimately, yeah, that was the attack that Classic was building up to for quite a while. He's only just now transitioning towards the Robo Bay, second Robo facility, fourth Nexus and all that, but that's usually the scary moment before the Ghost comes out, right? And the Ghost really does make the game a lot more stable for Terran. Zealot run-bys haven't really achieved anything in this series. Again, that's one of those things where we see guys like Mech Specs just tear the opponents apart, but it's not really something Classic has gotten to yet at any real phase of this particular best of 5. He's trying to get to it, I guess, with a High Templar drop here, and then eventually maybe use this Prism as well for some Zealot warpins, but GuMiho playing some clean StarCraft here. You love to see it. Using the map layout as well to his advantage. Nice little stutter step. Macroing on the back of it. Good timing on the armory as well. Wouldn't mind seeing a second engineering bay to maybe power out those upgrades a little bit faster, but evidently he's given it a try, and apparently it's not what he wants to do. Instead, he's prioritizing a fourth command center. I really like what he's doing. I mean, obviously, I'm saying he needs to start up a second Engi bay, but in the meantime, on the other side, we do have double forts, but only one of them is researching, which is a problem. Classic has the resources for it. Look at the amount of money here in the bank for both players. He's busy, of course, over here in the middle of the map. Though some big storms do end up landing here. Ay, 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 ay. Ooh, wow. He's actually going to stand and fight here. GuMiho, yeah. That seemed like a pretty crazy decision. Reinforcing Zealots do show up right now. Vikings are starting to work right now on that Prism, and the Prism does fall. A lot of very low HP Terra units here. Okay, we're gonna... That was a great fight. Lovely work right there by both players, honestly, but I thought that Mr. GuMiho would be getting out of that spot ages ago. 4 Archons there have ended up going down, right? And you can see it already here in the minerals and gas lost. These traits are not bad for the Terran whatsoever. This wasn't a 2 base all-in, it wasn't even a 3 base all-in. We have a 4th command center now finishing up. Well, at least it's already finished. It's now growing a planetary fortress on top of itself. This is the moment where Protoss is going to need to start thinking of a 5th Nexus. Preferably, though, we would have that a little bit earlier on in the game. Okay. Widowmine drop coming in. First Widowmine drop of the series. That's an interesting one. Okay. We do still have one available over here. Just to be annoying, right? Just to buy time. And we've seen a lot of games, I feel like, over the last couple of months, where from this exact position, despite the fact that, like, Protoss has a good economy, and they have a decent army and all that, they just sort of fizzle out over, like, the next 5 minutes or so. At least that's an observation that I've made. So, Fusion Core is coming up. This is GuMiho starting to make the transition here, especially now with the second, or maybe even the third starport. How many are we on? No, that's the second starport, I was gonna say. I don't think I've seen the extra ones just yet, but anyways. He's gonna start to transition up towards Liberators, right? And he's improving his army. And generally, whenever Protoss is in a position like this, they don't really have an option to really go into, like, for example, Tempest, right? Or something more reliable. If they're economically ahead, they certainly have a chance to make that transition, but right now, they're kind of in a spot where they have to stick around with this army composition over here. And it's true that Stalkers, with Blink, can deal with ranged Liberators quite well. But there are so many games that I've seen recently where Terran either gets a good trade with Marines and Marauders, right? Which they're aiming for right now. So forcing the recall over here, hitting his opponent on the right. Lovely stuff here by Gumi. Ultimately, if like 10 Liberators hit the battlefield, this is not a Protoss army that can fight it effectively. Unless Terran mispositions and Protoss manages to blink behind, it's just not a reliable way of doing it. There's a prism out on the map here, but it's with the main army, so it's not like the prism is ready to do a big warp in the main either, right? So if GuMiho really wants to be super safe, I wouldn't mind seeing a missile turret or two going down right there on the perimeter, but it's not really Classic's way. Still, the Terran army is split up. If he can stim in over here and kill another base, that would be absolutely massive. Is he gonna target it? He is gonna target it. Oh my god, that's painful. He's gonna end up losing quite a few units, but ultimately, you can think of this as losing units, but you can also think of it as opening supply for Liberators. Sorry about that, lads, but you're all gonna die, and you're gonna be replaced with flying dudes. Yeah, sorry. Well, some of you are also gonna be replaced with more Marines and Marauders, because that was a big chunk of units to lose. At the same moment, fourth base goes down, third base goes down. Classic is marching around in the middle of the map. Observer. Alright, maybe we're losing a little bit much over here as far as the Vikings go. That was not quite ideal, but that is tons of workers. And ultimately, sorry lads, you're also gonna get left behind. Ultimately, this is forcing Classic into now an all-in. I think GuMiho may have gotten a little carried away though, losing way more troops than he really needed to. He needs to hold this particular attack that's moving across the map. Classic, no! Oh, the drop comes back in. He wants to save this Nexus. I think we need to go. You're gonna... Like, your opponent's gonna outgrow you so hard over the next few minutes if you do not shut him down here soon. He decides to leave a small pack of units behind, which I guess is fair enough. But I really wonder if this should have been over here, because now GuMiho has been given a bit of time to get at least another round of production units out. And look at him marching down the ramp like they own the map. Yeah, you can't choke out those Liberators here. I feel like I've seen it especially on this map though, where Protoss just sort of slowly fizzles out. Because you have to push up the ramp. This base here at the 6 o'clock position would be nice to snipe, but... Okay, we're gonna go. Yeah, I think this is the right move. I think this is the right move right here from Classic. Can he shut all of this down? He does have storms available. He's target firing down the Liberators. He did manage to get at least somewhat of a jump right here on this Terran army. Still though, there's just so many Terran units available. The fourth Nexus and the third Nexus are finishing up once again on the other side of the map, but the Marauder army is still holding strong. GuMiho is stimming forward. He's sniping Colossus. He's going to be able to get rid of that Immortal and Archon army very easily. And I think that seals the deal. Expertly played here by GuMiho. Yeah, he got a bit carried away with that drop shenanigans just a couple minutes ago, right? Leaving a few too many units behind, at least as far as my comfort goes. I think he probably should have saved at least a few more of them, but sniping both of those Nexi and then, yeah, forcing the opponent's hand, absolutely massive. Now, maybe Classic can go into Disruptors? That would be nice. Maybe he can hit the Storm of a Lifetime and warp in Stalkers to ultimately get rid of the Liberators. But again, those ranged Liberators, oh, massive EMP as well, shutting down basically all of the Templar. There was no reason for them to all be out in the open. This Templar, okay, steps with his little tippy toes into that liberation zone, but ultimately the Nexus is already going down as that storm landed. Classic needs to pull a rabbit out of a hat at this point if he wants to obtain the victory. Most of the medevacs are empty, so they don't have energy anymore to really heal up this bio army. GuMiho right now is trying to scream, "Will you get out of my game?" Recall into the main base. Liberators are sieged up on top of it. That means that some of these heavy hitters are gonna end up going down. Reinforcing zealots are also coming, and in the meantime, on the other side of the map, the 6 o'clock position has already finished a while ago. GuMiho ends up shutting down Classic 3-1, and he does so in a very dominant way. Hey, if you enjoyed watching this video, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button. I try to upload new videos pretty much every single day. And on top of that, maybe you're interested as well in other games, you can check out my second channel. That's youtube.com/morelowko. It's where I post completed games that I have streamed. And recently, I've started streaming at the same time on Twitch as well as on the second channel. So I'm streaming pretty much every single day over at youtube.com/morelowko. There's a link down below in the description of this video. I highly recommend you go ahead and check it out. For now though, have a great rest of your day, don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again tomorrow for another video.